Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video, and today I decided to take a different approach rather than just saying the 5 things I hate about Diablo 4. I'm going to go over what I actually liked about Diablo 4 and what I actually feel like Diablo 4 currently does better than Path of Exile. Now, as you can see here, this person I found is playing through one of the most gorgeous levels in Diablo 4, and it is one of the most detailed zones I've ever seen in any ARPG, and it does transport me into a nitty-gritty atmosphere that I feel like reflects really well on what Diablo 4 is trying to present. Now, overall, a lot of these things that I find better than Path of Exile are mainly because Diablo 4 is kind of a next-generation ARPG. So, overall, the beta was really fun to play, and the next-generation feel is definitely there, from the open-world campaign to the tight combat system, and then also to the amazing graphics. Now, a lot of people do say that the graphics aren't up to snuff, but when I turned up all of the details to max on my 1440p monitor, it definitely seemed like it was very good, especially when I zoomed in a little bit. I think some of the shadows were probably not very good, but the texture quality seemed top-notch. Now, Diablo 4 is going to be using a 3-month season model, meaning that it's going to be the same exact model as Path of Exile. So every 3 months, we'll probably be able to see a little bit of content. And the Blizzard has kind of experimented with this already in the past. They had it with Overwatch 2. Overwatch actually has a relatively large content update every 2 months. And then every 4 months, they come out with a new hero. So Blizzard, because there's going to be a battle pass you can buy for around $10, I do think that they're going to keep up with the new content this time around instead of just letting the game die out slowly like Diablo 3 did. Now, one of the biggest points that I see a lot of people make is that they kind of try to compare Diablo 4 directly to Path of Exile 2, and that's just not going to be the best comparison ever. The games are very different in what the game developers actually are trying to do with the game. Diablo 4 does not aim to copy over all of the complexity from Path of Exile 2. It does not try to copy Path of Exile's campaign, and it does not try to make the game super similar by just copy a bunch of stuff like the gem linking system and the gem support skill system, and everything is a bit different, and they want to make a spiritual successor to Diablo 2 that it feels next generation compared to Diablo 3. And I do feel like that Blizzard has captured the essence of what they're trying to do. And one of the things that I saw a lot of people complaining about was whether pay to win would exist in the game. And this was a huge thing because Diablo Immortal, we saw that some people were spending $1 billion on the game and they were just the best players and you couldn't actually beat them in PvP. However, I am glad to tell you that there is no pay-to-win elements currently, and that is a huge deal. Now, the next beta weekend does allow us to test 2 new classes. So next Friday, we'll be able to try out Necromancer and Druid. And then if you still haven't tried out the beta this weekend, you're able to do Rogue, Barbarian, and Sorcerer. So let's go straight into what the 4 things I think are. So number 1 is the easy respects during campaign. If you've ever played Path of Exile, you know how much of a pain in the ass it is if you mess up choosing your skill points when you come out of the passive skill tree. And the passive skill tree in Path of Exile is absolutely huge. It is overwhelming for beginners. And I can tell you from my personal experience, when I first started playing the game 12 years ago at the young age of 30, I accidentally thought that critical strike chance meant that I would actually have increased critical strike chance. However, as a lot of things are in Path of Exile, what it says is not what it actually does. So I learned the hard way, and then my passive skill tree was completely messed up, but I couldn't respec it because you could do a few respec quests and get 2 passive skill respecs, but sometimes you would need like 10, you would sometimes need 20. In Path of Exile, there's also Ascendancy points, which cost around 5 passive skill points or Orb of Regrets to respec. And it just becomes a very beginner-unfriendly experience. And a lot of times, people want to level with a certain build and then switch over when they finish their campaign. And that's just something that's not really possible or feasible in Path of Exile unless you have a lot of currency accumulated. So this really does create this experience that's very unfriendly for beginners, and this is honestly one of the main reasons why some people quit, is because they have a build in Path of Exile that is just completely bricked. They have no currency whatsoever. They don't have the respec quest, but their skill tree is just completely messed up. So even though they may have started to copy a guide, at this point they're past the point of no return and they pretty much have to make a completely new character. Now Diablo 4 does a completely different method in that you get full skill respecs for almost no cost during the campaign. And if you wanted to see how much it actually costs, this is for me trying to respec my points. And you can see here, it costs 304 to respec my full skill tree. And I already have 16,691 gold. So you can see it is a more or less negligible cost. Now, next up is something that I really hope that Path of Exile 2 kind of addresses a little bit. Now, this is not really a make or break deal in terms of the gameplay or how the game will feel to play. But there are a lot of people out there who really enjoy customizing their character. And Path of Exile currently has 0 character customization in terms of how your actual character model looks. The only way to really customize how your character looks is if you go to the microtransaction store and then buy some armor MTX or wing MTX or stuff like that, or character effect. Now, Diablo 4 has full feature character customization, allowing you to change your character's appearance and how his face looks, how his body looks, how fat you want it to be, and what type of face variation, face presets you have. And you can also change the sex or body type of your character. Now, in Path of Exile, you are pretty much locked to a Templar. So if you're playing a Templar, you're going to be an old man. You're going to be pretty skinny. You're not going to have any sort of pants on at the start, and that's just how it is. You can't change the facial hair. You can't change your skin tone. You can't change your eye color, your hairstyle, your facial hairstyles, your hair colors, your makeup, your jewelry, your markings, or your marking colors, or any of that stuff in Path of Exile. I really do wonder if PoE 2 will allow you to change it. Now, this character customization is really top-notch in ARPGs, but it does still fall a little bit far behind compared to Lost Ark and other MMORPGs that have really in-depth character creation screens. Now, next up, we have the open world campaign, and in my previous video, I did complain about the MMO-like elements. However, the open world campaign is a huge positive, and it does make you feel like you're part of a world, or sanctuary as they call it in Diablo 4, rather than you just going from zone to zone linearly and not really having a feel that you're exploring the world. When I play Path of Exile, I don't really feel that I am engaged in the world. I am just going from zone to zone, trying to go through the campaign as fast as possible. And that might just be something that Path of Exile 2 aims to fix. GGG has said in the past that they were noobs when they first started developing the game, and Act 1 and Act 2 have a really bad flow to it. Now, Diablo uses a seamless open world, meaning that there's no loading screen. So this is a map genie. And if you ever play Tarkov, I think Map Genie has a lot of nice game maps, and it already exists for Diablo 4. You can actually travel from the top over here all the way to the bottom and never have a loading screen. You do have a loading screen when you go from waypoint to waypoint, and there's so many different little things to explore. There's dungeons, there's world bosses like right here. This is from the beta, and it just feels like you're part of an actual world rather than a linear campaign. And it is a very good story-driven campaign. I'm not really a huge lore person, but I watched some of the cinematics. It made me feel like I was part of a storyline instead of just some... I couldn't even tell you what is going on in PoE. I know there's Zana, there's Dominus, but other than that, I do not have a clue what's going on in the storyline. Now, the main problem I do see is, will repeated campaign playthroughs be fun? I do know that Diablo 4 probably has some sort of adventure mode for you to level up, but you do have to do the campaign, and you do have to fully almost clear the campaign once every season, so you do have to do it once every 3 months. And I do wonder, once you get past that initial allure, because it's new and because the world is new, how it will actually feel. And this does allow maybe Blizzard to further expand the world, so you can pretty much add more and more little bit of landmass to it, or maybe a different area to explore really easily. And overall, this is a definite positive aspect to it, and I do think that more next generation ARPGs will copy this sort of campaign, and it will be interesting to see how GGG approaches PoE 2's campaign that they're really proud of. Now, next up, we have something that is the graphics and atmosphere of the game. Now, because Diablo 4 is a newer game, it is going to have a lot better graphics. Now, the cinematics look really good. The atmosphere of the game feels like you're fighting through hell, you're fighting through evil, and there's the different distinct element to every single zone that you enter. Now, this is something that we only are able to see a tiny bit of. We are only able to see Act 1 currently. So there's probably going to be different tile sets in Act 2 through 6. I think there's like 8 total acts or something, including the prologue and epilogue. Now, the graphics are definitely a really, really good sight to behold. And you just have to set it on all maximum settings with a 1440p monitor or 4K monitor. I'm not really sure how the game would handle running it on 4K. But the game seems relatively well optimized for the beta. It does graphically stutter a little bit. Right now, I don't exactly have the best graphics card of a 4070 Ti. So maybe if you had a 4080 or something, it would run a little bit smoother. And I am streaming when I am playing the game. Now, this does make me excited for Path of Exile 2 because Path of Exile is a game that the graphics aren't really at the forefront of what you would talk about when you play the game. Like, it's not really anything to write home about. It's just there. But a lot of people do say, oh, Path of Exile 2 is going to use a new graphics engine, but that's just not the case. They're going to be using the same proprietary graphics engine that they're using. I think they developed it in-house to make it better suited for PoE, so we won't really be able to see how good the graphics are going. They're not going to be completely different or next generation because they are still using the same graphics engine. However, if you have seen like Unreal games on the Unreal engine and how much better it has gotten through as time's progressed, even with the same graphics engine, it's very possible that Path of Exile 2 could actually catch up to what Diablo 4 currently offers. But the attention to detail in the level design and the way it makes you feel when playing through it is definitely something that I resonate way more with Diablo 4 rather than playing through Path of Exile's campaign and maps. Now, overall, I can't wait to play the game on June 6th. And the one thing I do want to mention is that the game, even though it has no pay-to-win elements, it does have a little bit of pay-to-win in the sense that you have to buy the $90 edition to get this up to 4 days early access to Diablo 4. And since Diablo 4 does have a little bit of a gold economy, if you do decide to play it because you can trade rares, you are going to be a little bit behind. Like, just imagine starting a PoE league like 4 days late. It's going to be a pretty massive disadvantage. Now, one of the things that I think that a lot of people are kind of maybe drawing too many conclusions, especially when I go read the Reddit, I do think that in the beta, we are only level 25. We only get to see 1 of 6 or 7 acts. And it's kind of like drawing conclusions about PoE, if you already played through Acts 1 through 2, I do think that a lot of the statements where it encompasses everything are probably a little bit too early to tell, and we will find out when the game actually launches. And dungeons do seem to be a hot topic. I see a lot of people on Reddit discussing how some of the dungeons have a lot of backtracking and that you have to pick up something and that the levels feel very, very repetitive and they're not procedurally generated. But overall, let me know down in the comments below if you agree with these sentiments and what other aspects of Diablo 4 you think it does better than Path of Exile. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors and divines than me. Be sure to like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye!